What's up guys, my name is Andy. This is part 2 of a video that I was doing where I was kind of going over all of the parts I've upgraded and changes I've made to this car so far. Just kind of give you guys a follow-up on everything and what I think and what I would like to do and maybe some future mods. So let's finish this video up. So the first thing on my list for this video is the brakes. The front brakes on this car are the 4-pot Wilwood disc brakes. So far they're good. I would like to go larger. The problem is I have to do a larger wheel, and I think I have to go to a 17 to get the next size up, and I don't know if I want to do that yet. So I may be looking into what my other options are. I'd like to do discs in the rear, instead, get rid of those drums, and that'll help a little bit. But I would like a little more braking power on this car as I continue to dial it in for performance and handling. So while we're in the front there, another thing I want to talk about is that sway bar. I did put a larger front sway bar in this car, and again, it kind of goes in the category as the sum of all parts. By itself, yeah, you would feel a difference, as the larger rear bar just shifts the point at which the car will understeer. It just shifts it out a little bit. So I don't want this car to just plow into the corners. You can help that with a rear bar or a panhard bar, and make that back end step out for you. You can kind of control a little bit the car with the throttle, but a larger front bar just shifts the point at which the car would go into understeer. And so far it's been good, but it's the sum of the parts. It's that plus everything else I've done for suspension that's helping. So it's not a lot to say on the sway bar, but I'm glad I have it, and I would have done it anyways for all the parts that I'm doing. So, so the engine, for those that are familiar or not familiar, I put in a 347 stroker, took the 289 out of here, and I purchased a 302 roller block. I was gonna take my 289 in and have them make it into a one-piece rear main seal, and then notch out the bottom of the cylinder sleeve so that the crank will clear as it comes around. And all the work to do what I needed to do to make that 289 essentially the same as a roller 302 would have been more expensive than just buying the 302 block that I bought. So my engine shop had one in the shop. I just went ahead and bought that from them instead, and then they took that and made that into the 347. My 289 is still sitting at home, trying to figure out what I want to do with that. I might turn it into, I like to do a 331 with it, but I wouldn't put it in this car. Maybe put it in a different project, but that's another video. So my 347, this thing, again, without bogging down all the stats on it, it's just a 10.5 to 1 compression. Of course, the 347, so it is stroked for this larger displacement. I did put the AFR 185cc heads on here, and then I've got that Edelbrock air gap intake with Holley carb. This engine has been fantastic. It's strong, it pulls hard. It's just a little underpowered for this chassis, but it's a lot for this chassis. I would like a little bit more. The guy said that, my engine builder said it's about 425, and I think 500 horsepower for this chassis is about where I'd want to be. More than that, and it starts to get ridiculous, and I think it would just get me into trouble. So anyways, but I'm happy so far. This thing pulls really hard, it sounds really good, and it's just a massive upgrade over that 289 that I had in here. Speaking on that Holley carb, a lot of you guys have been following along the videos as I'm dialing that carb and getting it right. Again, just right off the bat, guys, my engine builder, he's been doing this for 30 or 40 years. I'm gonna take his advice. He said for the build that he made for me on this 347, that 750 CFM vacuum secondary Holley carb is what he said I should put on this car. When I'm a wide open throttle, my AFR is where I want it to be. I'm not having any problems there. It's just the partial throttle, the cruising, that I'm trying to dial that in and get it perfect. So that's what some of those videos have been, is just try to make this a little bit better, a little less rich when I'm cruising around. But when I'm on it, this thing it's a monster, which is fantastic. So another part that I changed before I put the engine in was I put in that larger 24-inch radiator. I cut out the core support so it would let more air into that radiator. and then I put on that electric fan setup from it's from a 1999 Ford Contour. It's a lot of fan, and it's very hungry. In fact, I blew the fuse, the first fuse that I put in there, because it was pulling so much juice. It's a very hungry fan, but very effective fan, because I don't have any temperature problems. I've been driving around. It's hot today. It's in the 80s, and sorry, I'm waiting for traffic to go by. And I'm sitting at 180 degrees right now. It's awesome. This thing is working like a champ. And other than the fact that it's a little hungry on the amperage, so far I've been very happy with it. And that 24-inch radiator, there's always that talk about what size of radiator you should get, and more surface area and less core depth will do more for you. You want to spread that out as much as you can. A really deep core isn't going to do you a lot of good when you're not moving very much in traffic. You want more surface area, and so this larger radiator is probably overkill, but as I continue to push this car harder and upgrade things, I'm going to want a little more capacity, cooling capacity on this setup, and that's why I've got that larger core right now. Again, it's probably overkill for what I have, but as I continue to build this car up, it's going to be where I need it to be. So moving into the interior here, you know, I've got this tilt steering column. I did it steering column. You guys probably saw that video quite a while back. This thing has been great. And as you get in and out, you can tilt that up. As I have other people, friends or family drive the car, they put the steering wheel they want. I know that's more for me than it is for everybody else, but I just having that ability to put the steering wheel right where I want it is it's really nice to have. And then because it's also got that tube in a tube set up inside there, so if I were to get in an accident, I don't have a solid steel shaft just waiting to punch my chest. That's another safety feature that I'm glad I have. So it's a win-win on this setup. You know, while we're here on the steering wheel, or the tilt steering column, this new steering wheel, I really like the look of this. There's no performance gain. It's a 15-inch wheel. Doesn't do anything other than, but I just like the way it looks. It feels good. It's got these little ribs on the back for gripping. I mean, this is the first thing you see when you're sitting in the car. It's one of those things that I'm glad I got this wheel, and I would do it again if I had to. So while we're looking here at the steering wheel, I also see these gauges, and this is something that a lot of people, you know, they would prefer the stock gauges. It keeps it period correct. This is something that it gives me that kind of that race car feel, and it's borderline on, okay, I'm starting to go maybe the wrong way with this car, but I really like the way it looks. It gives me all the information that I need from all these gauges. This is something that is kind of an expensive upgrade for, I mean, it gives you information, but there's no performance gain by it. But I'm really glad that I did it. I wish I would have done a little bit earlier, but this is something that if it's in the cards, guys, upgrading these gauges to something that you know for certain they're accurate, plays a big role in as you keep an eye on your car and as how everything's working. So this is something that, again, I'm very happy with on these gauges. So on my dash, I've got this block off plate to block off the radiator hole, or the radio hole. When I'm driving this car, I want to hear the engine. I want to enjoy the road. I just want to enjoy the car, and so I just didn't need to put a radio in here. I'm sure there would be times it would be nice to have, but it's just it's money that I'd rather spend on other parts right now than spending on a radio. Something that makes the car sound better, handle better, look better. I'd rather do that right now than worrying about a radio. And some of you guys, it's one of the first things you do. And particularly if you're not going for a performance-oriented car, you know, where it's going to turn in real hard or go real fast, you just want it to cruise. I could see the advantage of a radio, you know, being a lot bigger, you know, player in that game than what I've got here. But for now, I'm just going to leave this block-off plate and enjoy it how it is. So while we're right here too, the heater. I did a video a while back where I refurbished the heater, freshened everything up, put new seals and stuff like that. I tested the motor, the fan, everything works. But right now, something's not connected or something's not right. My heater doesn't work. So as we get closer to the winter months, that's something that's going to be move up the list real fast on something I want to fix, because it can get really cold in here. Even though I don't drive it in the snow, but there are some colder days that I would still like to drive the car, and I would like that heater to work. So maybe that's a video coming up where we find out what's going on with the heater and get it fixed. The AC, I'd like to add an AC system. I really would like to do an electric AC system. And now I don't know if that's feasible or if that's really worth the effort, but I don't want a bunch of stuff attached to the front of the engine. That's why I don't have power steering. That's why I don't have the air conditioning AC compressor. I just want to have, I mean, if I could get away with not having the alternator on there, I would. Somebody was telling me to hook it up to the driveline in the back, make a bracket so that, that the driveline will spin the alternator. Don't tempt me. You know, that would be nice, just to clean up the engine bay and just, you know, not minimalistic, but minimal is what I'm trying to do there. Just make it look real nice. And lots of stuff bolted onto the front of the engine, to me, starts to clutter it up. So we'll see how that goes. That's next year's project before I do an AC system, but it'd be nice for next summer. So the seats in this car are, yeah, I got quite a bit of heat for painting these seats. I used a vinyl paint. For the most part, it's held up really well, except for one spot that it's wearing where there's a natural crease or, you know, a fold or whatever you want to call it in the vinyl on these seats, and it's, sorry, I can't drive and talk at the same time. One spot where the seat always moves back and forth, and so it's breaking up where that paint was, and it's starting to get a little bit white underneath there. I don't care. I'm getting rid of these seats. I didn't like these. I'm not a big fan of the pony interior, and I'm sorry if I'm hurting any feelings out there. I really don't care for it, and so I didn't care about painting these seats. They're tired, they're worn out, they're old. You know, the frames are probably still good, so you guys could take the cushion and the upholstery off and redo it. I'd rather have something that's a little bit more supportive anyways, and I made a video quite a while back where I talked about that, about some suggestions on what I should do for seats, and I have been struggling with that. I've got a video that I might put together showing of what I've done so far up until now for seat options. I never finished it because it didn't work out like I wanted, so I'm still trying to figure that out, and I'd like to get that figured out before the winter time. You know, these seats, they're not comfortable, and I don't like kind of moving around in them. I want to be a little more planted, but I also don't want to sit really high in the cab. And again, you guys probably saw that I put those lowered seat platforms from what, the 1970 Mustang or whatever it was. That got me an extra inch, which is great. I want to do the Mustangs to Fear headliner someday. That'll give me another inch, so that gives me a little more room to play. But I don't want seats where I'm sitting up tall. I don't want to do that. And I'll just stop it there. I might do a video later on about the seats, but we'll circle back around to the seats. Kind of the last thing on my list of things that I've changed in this car are these mirrors. I moved them back. Whoever installed them in front of the wing windows, the vent windows, you couldn't see them depending on if this rail was in the way or the wing windows open. So I had to move them back here, and then I put one on the passenger side where there wasn't one, and then I put that convex mirror on there. Big upgrade. I can see a lot better on that side. It's just a minor little thing that, you know, that putting these mirrors in the right spot, and especially having that convex mirror on there, really helps open up the options. This rearview mirror is really small. You can't see a lot out of it. These mirrors are small. They're not ideally positioned. But anything you can do to kind of upgrade that is nice to have, just because you're going to need that visibility so you can see what you're doing. So guys, that's it on just the kind of a follow-up. I know I missed a lot of parts, but I really didn't want to turn this into a 45-minute video. The only last thing I wanted to talk about was the future plans for this car. You guys know about the damaged quarter panels on my car. I had that video a while back where the wheel had fallen off and made it worse, and I tried to roll the fenders and I made it worse. I mean, I messed them up. This car needs to be painted really bad. I need to fix those, so I'm thinking about this winter tearing the car apart and replacing those quarter panels, getting the car painted. I'm going to pull the interior out. I'd like to redo the carpet. I even want to redo the wiring, maybe do a whole American Auto Wire wire harness. There's a lot of things that I want to do over the winter because I don't drive it much in the winter. We get a lot of snow around here. I don't want the car in that, and it's not really set up for it. I don't have winter tires, so this is something that quite a few things that I'm going to try to take advantage of this winter time when the downtime and get that done. But so that's coming up. If you guys have, if you know a good video of a guy that replaces the quarter panels on his Mustang and how to do it properly, let me know. I might do that myself. I'm not a body guy. I'm not a painting guy. I'm gonna take the car and have it painted, but I might be able to do those quarter panels myself. So if you guys got some good info on that, I'd love to have it, because I'm probably gonna need it, and it's gonna look really bad when I get in there and do that. So anyways, all right guys, that's it for this video. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up, and if you subscribe, I appreciate it because it helps my channel out, and we'll see you in the next one.